Millions of passengers each year step aboard expecting luxury, relaxation, and magical encounters with the sea. Dolphins riding the bow wave, whales breaching at sunrise, colorful fish darting through crystal-clear waters during shore excursions. The marketing is flawless, the safety briefings reassuring, and the experience feels seamless. Yet behind the polished facade, cruise lines rarely mention a set of real but under-discussed risks tied directly to ocean wildlife, hazards that can affect both the marine environment you came to admire and, in rare cases, the passengers enjoying the voyage. These are the 5 things cruise lines don't tell you about ocean wildlife risks. Number 1. Ship strikes on large marine animals remain one of the most serious yet invisible threats in open water cruising. Modern cruise vessels travel at speeds often exceeding 20 knots through routes that overlap with major migration paths and feeding grounds for whales, dolphins, and other large sea creatures. When a ship collides with a whale, typically a humpback fin, blue, or sperm whale, the impact is devastating for the animal. The blunt force of the bow can cause massive trauma, broken bones, and severe internal injuries, while propellers deliver deep lacerations that lead to fatal blood loss. Many such strikes go completely unnoticed by passengers and even crew. The whale may submerge immediately, drift away, or sink before any evidence reaches shore. In cases where the body is recovered, necropsies frequently reveal propeller wounds or hull-inflicted fractures consistent with high-speed vessel contact. Global estimates suggest vessel strikes kill or seriously injure tens of thousands of marine mammals every year, with some reports indicating around 20,000 whales lost annually worldwide from ship collisions alone. Large whale species such as fin, humpback, gray, and blue whales are most often victims, with collisions concentrated in busy shipping lanes near major ports and along migratory routes. Cruise ships, while not the dominant contributor compared to container ships or tankers, add meaningfully to this toll in popular cruising regions such as the Mediterranean, Alaska's Inside Passage, the California coast, and parts of the Caribbean and Atlantic. For instance, off the U.S. West Coast, between 2015 and 2024, over 100 whale vessel strikes were reported, with many more likely undetected as bodies sink or drift far out to sea. In California alone, recent years have seen alarming spikes, including multiple confirmed strikes on gray and humpback whales. Navigation technology, dedicated lookouts, and occasional speed reduction zones in designated areas help reduce the odds, but the sheer mass and momentum of a cruise ship, often over 100,000 gross tons, makes sudden avoidance nearly impossible once a collision course is set. Passengers rarely feel more than a subtle vibration, if anything at all, and the industry has little incentive to publicize these incidents, since most remain undocumented or are reported only in scientific journals and conservation reports. The result is a hidden toll. Majestic creatures that should be icons of the cruise experience are instead lost beneath the waves, their deaths rarely acknowledged in onboard announcements or destination talks. This silent accumulation of losses affects already vulnerable populations, including endangered species like North Atlantic right whales, where vessel strikes have historically accounted for a significant portion of recorded mortalities, despite mitigation efforts like seasonal speed limits. Number 2. Constant underwater noise from cruise ships disrupts the lives of marine mammals in ways that are profound yet completely out of sight and earshot for those on deck. The engines, generators, air conditioning systems, and massive propellers produce a relentless low-frequency rumble that travels thousands of miles through water. For baleen whales, humpbacks, blues, fins, and rights that depend on sound to communicate across vast distances, find mates, and locate food, this added noise masks critical vocalizations. Imagine trying to call out to a loved one in the middle of a rock concert. The message simply gets lost. Studies tracking stress hormones in endangered populations show elevated cortisol levels in animals exposed to chronic shipping noise, alongside reduced foraging efficiency as prey becomes harder to detect through echolocation interference. Toothed whales and dolphins, which rely on high-frequency clicks for hunting and navigation, face similar challenges when propeller cavitation and other mechanical sounds overlap with their communication bands. In heavily trafficked cruising corridors, background ocean noise has increased dramatically over recent decades, sometimes by 10 decibels or more in certain frequency ranges, equivalent to shifting from a quiet library to a busy restaurant. The behavioral changes are measurable. Some whale populations alter migration routes to avoid noisy zones, abandon preferred feeding areas, or reduce time spent at the surface, all of which can lead to poorer nutrition, lower reproductive success, and declining populations. Research has documented how ship noise causes increased stress in critically endangered North Atlantic right whales, affecting reproduction and immunity, reduced foraging success in southern resident orcas facing scarce prey, and even temporary disruptions in communication for humpback whales. Passengers may notice the gradual disappearance of once common sightings along familiar routes, attributing it to natural variability rather than the cumulative acoustic footprint of the cruise industry itself. While individual ships contribute only a fraction of the total noise compared to global shipping, the concentration of large vessels in scenic coastal and island-hopping itineraries amplifies the local impact. Cruise lines equip vessels with advanced propulsion systems designed for fuel efficiency and passenger comfort, but the acoustic side effects for wildlife remain largely absent from pre-cruise information sessions and environmental statements. Chronic exposure to this noise pollution represents a growing concern, as it compounds other pressures like climate change and habitat loss, pushing sensitive species toward greater vulnerability. Number 3. The volume of waste and discharge generated by a single cruise ship can indirectly fuel conditions that make ocean wildlife more dangerous to encounter up close. Every day, thousands of passengers produce dark water sewage, gray water loaded with detergents and personal care chemicals, food waste, and various operational effluents. Even when treated to regulatory standards and discharged far from shore, these nutrient-rich releases contribute to localized eutrophication, excessive algal growth that depletes oxygen and creates dead zones inhospitable to most marine life. In nutrient-enriched waters, particularly in warmer coastal regions, populations of stinging jellyfish can explode, forming dense blooms that drift into swimming and snorkeling areas. Excursion participants who enter the water expecting clear, welcoming seas may instead encounter clouds of jellyfish, their tentacles delivering painful stings ranging from minor irritation to severe envenomation, requiring immediate medical attention. Similar nutrient pulses help invasive species such as lionfish establish dominance on reefs, outcompeting native fish and introducing new hazards for divers and snorkelers. Plastic fragments from onboard waste, if mismanaged, add to the persistent debris that sea turtles, seabirds, and marine mammals ingest, mistaking it for prey and suffering choking, starvation, or internal damage. A large cruise ship can generate hundreds of thousands of gallons of sewage weekly, contributing to over 1 billion gallons annually industry-wide, with pollutants like nitrogen and phosphorus promoting algal blooms that further threaten coral reefs and oxygen levels. While international regulations such as MARPOL Annex 4 and VSAT minimum standards for discharge distances and treatment, compliance monitoring varies by flag state and region, and the sheer scale of repeated port calls in ecologically sensitive destinations compounds the cumulative load. The result is an altered marine environment where the wildlife passengers hope to observe becomes either scarcer or more hazardous. Yet these connections are seldom explained in onboard lectures or excursion briefings. Dark water and gray water discharges can impair plankton processes, disrupt food webs, and exacerbate ocean acidification in some areas, creating cascading effects that ripple through entire ecosystems. Number 4. In the extremely rare but terrifying event that a passenger goes overboard, the open ocean presents immediate wildlife-related dangers that heighten the peril of an already life-threatening situation. Most man-overboard incidents stem from alcohol, rough weather, or accidental falls, and rescue operations are launched swiftly when the event is witnessed. However, in vast stretches of ocean, response times can stretch into hours, leaving the person adrift in darkness, cold water, and unpredictable currents. Survivors who have endured prolonged immersion have described the chilling presence of marine life, jellyfish stings across exposed skin, the brush of unknown creatures against legs, and the unmistakable silhouettes of sharks circling in the distance. In cruising regions such as the Gulf of Mexico, the Western Caribbean, and parts of the Atlantic, species including bull sharks, tiger sharks, and oceanic whitehips are naturally present and may investigate disturbances or follow scent trails from waste discharges. One well-known case involved a man who fell from a carnival ship and spent nearly 20 hours battling rip currents, jellyfish stings, and shark-infested waters before rescue, reporting constant fear of fins in the shadows. While documented cases of sharks attacking cruise passengers while awaiting rescue are exceptionally uncommon, The fear alone is overwhelming. Every shadow below the surface becomes a potential threat, every splash a possible predator. Cruise lines maintain rigorous protocols, including GPS-marked life rings, search patterns, and crew training, but public messaging focuses on prevention and rapid response rather than the ambient wildlife hazards that could turn a survivable ordeal into a fatal one. The ocean is never empty, and in those isolated moments, its inhabitants remind anyone adrift that humans are visitors in a much larger, wilder world. Number 5. Many of the most memorable wildlife experiences sold as cruise excursions carry understated risks that become apparent only after an incident occurs. Shore-based or tendered activities, snorkeling with stingrays, swimming near nurse sharks, beach days on remote cays, or boat trips to feeding grounds, promise intimate encounters with nature. Yet these same locations frequently overlap with habitats where predatory species are active. In the Bahamas, near major cruise ports such as Nassau, documented fatal shark attacks have occurred during snorkeling outings, including multiple cases involving bull sharks in shallow waters close to popular stops. One incident saw a Pennsylvania woman on a Royal Caribbean voyage die from bites while snorkeling off Green Cay with family. Another young American perished in a similar spot years earlier, and further fatalities have been recorded in the area, including attacks on tourists paddleboarding or diving. Jellyfish swarms, sometimes intensified by seasonal conditions or nutrient inputs, turn otherwise safe swims into painful ordeals. Excursion operators may provide basic safety information, but cruise lines, which market these add-ons heavily, rarely highlight local incident statistics, changing ocean conditions driven by warming waters and pollution, or the fact that popular sites are chosen partly for accessibility rather than guaranteed safety. The allure of touching the wild-feeding rays, observing sharks from the surface, diving among schools of fish can shift quickly to emergency response when an animal behaves defensively or environmental factors align unfavorably. These 5 hidden dimensions reveal how the cruise experience intersects with a living, dynamic ocean that is far more complex and vulnerable than the brochures suggest. The industry delivers extraordinary access to the sea, yet the costs, to marine mammals struck by hulls, to species stressed by noise, to ecosystems altered by discharges, to rare individuals facing open water peril, and to excursion participants encountering unexpected hazards, are seldom part of the conversation. Awareness of these realities does not diminish the magic of standing on deck as the horizon unfolds. It simply adds depth to the view, reminding every passenger that the beauty beyond the rail is not merely scenery but a world with its own rules, rhythms, and quiet struggles. The ocean's resilience is remarkable, yet the cumulative pressures from growing cruise traffic underscore the need for greater transparency and care in how we engage with it. Thanks for watching.